and things like that, because you've got electrical outlets. Guess what? There's holes that go into an electrical box, that go into the wall, so that's an easy spot. Plumbing, where that goes through the walls. Cable, where that goes through the walls. So wall's always a culprit. Ceiling, because it burns up, it hits the ceiling. Depends how well it's insulated up there, and what's up there, and how long it's burned, and a whole lot of other things. What size drywall, all that stuff. But we got to be aware of some of those common areas. We talked about sprinklers and how to stop the flow of water from a sprinkler head. Wooden wedges are a good way to do it. We've also got the sprinkler tool on our engine, and we've also talked about tongs, which are these, which are not too unlike the sprinkler tool on the engine. This one is more of a hand crank, whereas the other one's more of a knob that you turn type of a thing. It is not our job to restore the sprinkler system. Okay, some departments do this, but around here we don't. It is a board-up company will come in, and the building owner or the board-up company or us, we will call the sprinkler company and make sure that they're aware of it, and they will come out and they will do it. Because there's a liability that we don't really want. The liability is to shut the system off properly, to take out the sprinkler head, to replace it with an exact replica of that sprinkler head. So where the sprinkler box is by the sprinkler system, we're a couple chapters ahead on this information, but any sprinkled building has a box that has at least one of each type of sprinkler in the building in that box. So here we have this type of a sprinkler head. Out in the hallway we might have a different one. Out in the bay we might have a different one. Okay, based on temperatures or design. If we had a ceiling here, then we would have what orientation sprinkler head? It would look like that. What are the three orientations? Give it a shot.
Side,
Sidewall.
from the ceiling, and then from the floor? No.
Come on. Okay. Anyone ever seen the sprinkler head sticking out of a floor? Tripped on one, ran over what? You're trying, I appreciate that. You actually, the sidewall, okay. You kind of described overhead, but that's where the other two are. No? All right. Try one.
There's the one that comes down without hitting, like, it hits the backwards umbrella, so it spreads out, and then the other one shoots up and hits the umbrella. I forget the names.
Okay. So we got description. We just don't have names. They don't have names? Okay. Upright sits upright on the branch line. These red things are branch lines. So upright sits up on a branch line. The water, the solid stream of water hits this, and you see how it has that umbrella shape to it? That sends it back down. It hits and it comes back down. And then these little ridges on the end just kind of give it its shape, its pattern. They break it up into tiny little drops for better heat absorption. So this one, again, that cone shape tells us that these are upright. They sit upright on here, and you might find these in warehouses. So when high-lows go back and forth with stock, they don't break these, because this hangs below, so it could get hit. So I know I passed these around before, pass them around again. The ones that are going around first are upright. The other ones, remember, they hang down below a branch line like these do. They're called a pendant. Is that what you call a thing that's on the end of a necklace? Anybody?
Yes.
All right. So I don't wear a necklace, but I think the little charmy thingies, the designs, are called pendants. So they hang down, like these hang down the little branch line. And when you look at the deflector, where the water hits it, and it looks like a gear shape. All it does is break up the pattern. It doesn't send it in a different direction. It just breaks it up to make that umbrella. So underneath that umbrella, you are gonna have a 10-foot diameter, 4 feet below the deflector, and everything under it is gonna get wet, unlike an umbrella, which is supposed to keep everything dry. So that's these. Those are pendant. And here's the sidewall. So again, sidewall, simple, because it has that thing up here, because we don't need to get the ceiling too wet. So the water's just gonna come out and hit everything in this direction, going out that way. So it looks a whole lot like a pendant sprinkler head with a flat top, and that's gotta be lined up with the ceiling, because it doesn't get the ceiling too wet, because the ceilings are pretty much not combustible. At worst case, they're gonna be drywall. At best case, they're gonna be concrete or steel, which is not combustible. Yep.
That would be classified as a sidewall, or the one that's in the, like the huge one on the side.
So forget the pipe. That's just where it attaches to here, and this would be at the end of the pipe. But you tell me.
Oh, it'd be a brick.
Be an upright because of the shape, kind of umbrella-ish. Okay, not this. This, the deflector. Okay, so they have that on because the water should hit that and make its turn. So that just becomes an extra piece. These cages typically are if you have stock that's in a cardboard box. We allow these cages to go around the sprinkler head. It's not like they're wild and they're going to leave. It's just so if a cardboard box hits it, the cardboard box will bend and maybe rip, but the sprinkler head will still be intact. So that's the whole purpose for that. All right, so we talked about salvage covers. We have some of those on the engine, driver's side, rear compartment. You can make a carry-all out of one of those. Typically, your carry-alls that are pre-designed have handles on them. So you load up the middle with, typically, insulation. You're pulling ceiling, you're pulling the wall. Throw all that drywall, throw all that insulation in there. You're going to, at some point when it's full, we're trying to grab your end, I'll grab my end. We're going to lift it up. We're going to walk it outside, and we're going to dump it somewhere. And then it can get wet from there. But here they're using a large bucket. Floor runners. So these are like a salvage cover material, which can be, what are the two types that we talked about? What materials? Ashley, what do you got? I'm sorry? Okay, synthetic or plastic type, yeah. Yeah, what's the other one, remember? Old school, don't use it much anymore. Canvas? Yeah. Yep. All right, so you can make floor runners, and they're generally just 3 feet wide, and they're for hallways, so you don't get your dirty boot prints down the hall. All right, so that's that. Also handy if you have to take out that ceiling in the hallway. Everything's going to fall right on that runner as well. Dewatering, okay, water vacuums, all of that. We don't use those around here. It's just extra space in compartments that we don't need to deal with. That's going to be the board up company. That's job is to get rid of excess water, restore the premises as well as possible, secure it, and make sure that we have access. They'll give us a key at the end to the padlock, and as long as it is structurally sound, then we can do our investigations at later points, as long as we have maintained control of that and no one broke into it. But these are different types of pumps or vacuums that can suck up water. So that's like a wet dry vac right there. But again, we don't deal with that. That's going to be board up company stuff. Remember, what else can we do with water inside of a house to get rid of it? Only?
I forgot what it was called. You cut the hole in the bottom of the upper floor and exterior wall and drain it out.
Okay, that's more damage, but we could do that. We could cut a hole in the floor and just squeegee it all down the hole. Okay, where would you make the hole?
Exterior wall.
Oh, wall. No, I thought you were talking about a hole in the floor. Okay, we're talking about getting rid of excess water in the structure? Is that where you're at?
I might have read the chapter.
Okay. So if you were to make a hole in my kitchen to get rid of all of that standing water, then line it up, go in the basement and line it up with where the drain is. Okay, so we've got drains in the basement. Everyone know where theirs is? Okay? Sometimes they get stuck. Sometimes it's by your dirty clothes chute, if you have a dirty clothes chute. And then that stuff gets washed in there, and that kind of blocks it. So sometimes we have to go and move stuff off the drain. Sometimes stock is there, or furniture is there, or something like that. So we do have to move some stuff. But the drains can be used. What else can we use to route water away? Toilets. Take the toilet off, and it can go down there as well. All right. So this is the nuts and bolts of it. Kind of prior to this, we talked about some procedural things, but here's nuts and bolts, what we're going to do. This is a one firefighter salvage cover spread. All right, so salvage can occur at any point in time during the fire operations. Salvage is basically just trying to minimize the damage caused by the fire and any primary or secondary damage. Primary caused by the fire, secondary caused by us. So breaking out windows, ripping holes in ceilings and walls and things like that. So salvage cover can go out any time, but again, overhaul by definition has to take place after the main body of fire. So if we have salvage covers that are rolled, okay, so you lay them out flat, you get them folded a couple times together, and then you roll them up, okay? You can take a roll and you can put it on one end of, look what they've done with furniture. This is just, they put a couch there. But if you think about like your bedroom, we take your bed, put it in the center of your room. Now it might not be that far, you might be against the wall or something like that, but pull it in the center, and then next to it, we pull your dresser, a chair, and everything else goes right on top of that stuff. So, anything hanging from the wall, pictures and stuff like that will go there. Lamps will go there. Footrests and footstools and beanbag cushion, all of that stuff. Throw that all in the center. Take that salvage cover, set it here, and then unroll it so it goes over the whole thing. And then we're going to simply peel it apart. Okay, so it's rolled, but we folded it before we rolled it. So I'm going to unfold this end, and I'm going to unfold this end. Then I go around to the other side, and I'm going to unfold that end and that end. And then tuck in the corners. Okay, so that's simply a rolled salvage cover, how you would do that with one firefighter. The folded one, you typically are going to do the same thing, fold it on its sides, and then you fold it to the middle is the proper way for us to do it. So you take that folded salvage cover and set it right in the middle of that pile of stuff. And then I take this end and I unfold it. And then I come over to this end and unfold it. And then I peel it apart on this side, go over to this side, peel it apart, and then tuck in the edges. So one firefighter can do that. It doesn't require two if you're not in an IDLH area or something like that. Or maybe a common one on this one is the water from an upstairs fire starts to seep through onto the next floor, seeps through the drywall. All right, so the stuff underneath it, let's protect it. So move it out of the way of the drip, but again, it's a 4x8 sheet of plywood, so it could catastrophically fail. It's just all getting wet and heavy right now. Won't be long before it fails. So roll everything up in the center and cover it up with salvage cover. One firefighter can do that. But two firefighters, much easier. Regardless of if you rolled it or if you folded it, get a firefighter, one at each end. So Albright, me and you, okay? 1, 2, you ready? We're gonna go up and over with this hand. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We throw it over just like these firefighters do. Get some air underneath it, aim for the center, get everything there. Then I'll tuck in my ends, you tuck in your ends. And so that's a simple one. Our salvage begins upon arrival and continues until the last unit leaves the scene. So again, salvage can happen during firefighting operations. Can be necessary, can begin during fire suppression. Depends on people. If you have enough people, yes, you can. So, when I worked in Inkster, there were 4 of us on duty. The whole entire city, 4 of us. We never did salvage stuff. We didn't have people. We had an IC, we had someone running the truck, and me and one other firefighter. That was it. But if you come to a park paid department, everyone wants to show up for fire, so you'll have, potentially 40 people at a structure fire. So yeah, can we assign people to salvage? Absolutely. All right, so it can begin during fire suppression, may be necessary to delay suppression to remove vital elements. IC makes a decision to delay suppression. I can't think of a lot that I would want to delay suppression for to remove vital elements. I'm trying to think is what is so vital that it can't get wet. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, okay, but what else is that important? Okay, so there's marriage certificates, there's death certificates, there's birth certificates. Contact the county that you were born, married, died in, and they have records of that. You can get replacements. I've done it. So there isn't a whole lot that really can't be replaced, one of a kind. You've got a Rembrandt collection in your basement. Okay, that's pretty important. But anyone here have a Rembrandt in their basement that you didn't paint by number? No, come on, Mona Lisa. Number 2. Okay.
I saw this one video of firefighters went and got like a died soldier that fought in a war and the family house was on fire and they went and grabbed that. Is that kind of what they're talking about?
Okay, there's stuff that has personal meaning. But you've got to make sure you don't get crazy with the personal meaning stuff. I know everybody does. I could ask you what's your most important thing, and you'd want me to get your Xbox or something like that, and it might be your favorite sweatshirt or something like that. So it's going to be different for everybody. I don't know that going into this situation. So I'm going to do my best. What's my best chance? To put the fire out. Problems go away when the fire goes out. So that's my course of action. I can't think of too many reasons where I would delay suppression to remove anything that's vital. Okay, and I mean computers. Oh, I got all my stuff on my computer. Yes, you do. They got companies that can go back and retrieve that information. Because how many computers are in your home, Odell?
That's a good question, I'm not sure.
Give me a guess. Good. How many in your house?
Probably 2 desktops.
2? Minor? How many in your house? Laptops, desktops, everything.
Probably 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Jones? 4 or 5. Esper? Just 1? Okay. Williams? 4. Okay, so again, we're searching, figuring out, okay, so we got our laptop here. Okay, that's simple. I can grab that, but do I need to? Desk computer, oh my gosh, I gotta unplug all that stuff. I gotta carry that. So there was a lot of stuff. So I just can't think of too much where I would delay. Stuff that's important to people, but that's typically not it. Cash can be dried up. Sales procedures. Choice of procedures depends on the number of personnel available, because that's a biggie, the biggie. The type, size, and quantity of the contents. So is it a hoarder home, which you'll never know what's value and what isn't, a totally empty home or vacant home, or like the rest of us lived in, but neither extreme. The extent and location of the fire, so that's going to dictate where this excess water runoff is going to damage things, or the fire is going to damage things. We're going to move stuff. You don't take stuff from the fire side of the house and move it closer to the fire. You want to do just the opposite. And then weather conditions. So if you bring some stuff outside, is it going to be safe to take outside, or is it going to get just as wet outside as it does inside because it's raining outside or snowing outside or any of those other things? All right, so moving contents to a safe location or safer, remove contents from the structure, or protect contents in place with salvage cover. So those are kind of our 3 choices. Can we move them to a place that's not dripping, the next room over, take the dining room furniture and move it into the living room? Possibility. Can we take it outside? Depends what's going on outside. And if there's a safe place to put it there, that's better than inside. Or do we just throw salvage covers over it? put it all in the center of the room. That's probably the least time consuming. Throw it all in the center of the room, pile stuff on top, and cover it. Or tell it. Yep. All right, so here in this picture on the left, they are covering contents with salvage cover. And here on the right, they are carrying these Tupperware bins outside. Okay, so again, that would probably be the last thing I'd carry outside because it's got a lid. And if the lid's intact, then everything inside should be pretty good, right? If something drips on it. But again, that's just an example to show you that it can be taken outside. Move contents to a safe location inside, away from the smoke, the fire extension, and the water where it's going to get to. Effective while the fire is limited and not likely to spread. Effective when the weather conditions would damage contents if they were moved outside. Cover the contents with salvage covers or raise off the floor to guard against secondary damage if that's a possibility, because what are you going to raise them with? You know, I mean, I know that when they clean your floors, your carpets, they have those little styrofoam blocks. Do you have those in your house? So what are you going to use to put underneath there? Removing contents. Can block doors, so you want to make sure you move it away from that main path of entry egress you're going to be using on a regular basis. Stack contents on dry surfaces, away from debris. Protect from theft or vandalism, tell the owner, and secure the contents. And then salvage inside, leaving it in place or gather into compact piles in the center of the room if possible. So here, that picture right there, stick it right there between the couch and the cushions, or between the couch and the chair, something along those lines. Lay it on the chair or the couch. Salvage covers used for protection, create a high point in the furniture group, allows water runoff. Fragile items can be placed on something soft like a bed, raised furniture, off wet carpets, again, if you have that option. If you have a carpet in the room, the nice thing about a carpet is if you roll it up, you can then place that on top, and that acts like a tent, like the ridgepole type of a thing. So that will work. It may sometimes be necessary to place a salvage cover into position before some articles are placed onto the bed. For example, the first cover protects the bed, while the second cover protects the contents placed upon the bed. Never done it, never heard of it, never saw it done. Because what you've got, maybe 3 or 4 salvage covers on your truck, and that's it. You've got other trucks out there, but typically pile it all on the bed, cover it up, you're good. 1, not 2. Salvage procedures in commercial occupancies may be difficult to cover all the contents, so think about a Home Depot, or a Lowe's, or a Menards, or the furniture store you go to, whatever the case is. So that's going to be a little bit difficult to cover all of that. Stock is susceptible to water damage, should be raised off the floor if possible. Water chutes and catch-alls can be used to route water to the floor for later removal. So a water chute will move it to a different area. A catch-all will kind of hold the water, so it can be removed with mops and sponges or wet dry bags, something like that. Be extremely cautious of high-piled stock because a high-piled stock is absorbing water. If there is any that's getting onto it, that's going to cause that cardboard box to fail. Removing large quantities of water.